Hi, dog mums and dads. We're back with another episode of the Natural Dog Mum, and thank you for spending the time with us. Today, we're going to be having a chat with the lovely Michelle Cummins. Now, she is a little bit of a unicorn in the Australian pet industry. She has and currently has several different pet brands, including her online store, the Natural Pet Farmacy. She is somewhat of an expert in all things natural when it comes to pet health and pet products. So we're going to be talking about that. We're also going to be talking about a really exciting event that she's organising that's coming up in Melbourne in November called Canine Masters. I will let her spill the tea on that. So stick around to find out all the goss. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey in the pet industry, how you came to be where you are now?
I can. If we go back probably 2010, I had been in corporate around that time, and then we had the global financial meltdown, I think, around 2009. 2010, I had a little cat called Henry who was very unwell.
Oh,
He had a reaction to a cortisone injection that he was given by an allopathic or conventional vet in my area without my permission. To be honest, though, I wouldn't back then, I probably wouldn't have even known I could have said no or to ask, what the side effects were. Henry was only, he was still very young at that point, and he deteriorated before my eyes. 1% of cats have a very harsh reaction to cortisone, and he was in that 1%. So Henry was kind of the catalyst for this massive career change. Like, I've always been an animal lover. I've got a photo of when I was 3, and I've got a duck on my lap and a rosella on my shoulder. And my dad was like Dr. Doolittle growing up. He had some industrial sheds outside of Lismore, and he used to own a business that he operated from these big industrial sheds, and people would dump cats there. And at one point we had 33 dumped cats, and then they had kittens, and Dad would find homes for them. He loved animals, Dad did. So and I'm also on my mum's side, I've got a long line there of farming uncles who are farmers, but who had an amazing knowledge of animals as well, particularly my dear Uncle Morris, who's well and truly gone now. He'd be 101, but he and I had a real affinity when it came to animals, and he just had a greater understanding of the thinking behind their behaviours, and he used to observe them all the time and say to me, "Now, see how they stretch like that? We need to stretch of a morning when we get up," and just all sorts of things. Uh, so coming back to Henry, he wasn't sleeping at all, so I made a bed for him and trialed lots of different materials and things like that, and I came across one particular combination that he hopped on, and he slept for like 23 hours straight. I actually thought he had died. And that then led me into a pet bed company at the time called Henry Hoddy, and I had that for many, many years. And I don't know, I think sometimes I'm a bit scared of success, and I'm my own worst enemy, as some of us can be. But I just probably never believed that the product was as good as it was. And even though I ended up being granted a patent for it in 2019, um, the bed itself was just incredible insofar as, customers would ring and say that their dog or cat, would sleep on it without getting up and moving. And dogs that had joint issues would show greater mobility after sleeping on the bed. So put a little bit more research into it, and all the components of the bed were non-toxic as well. So there was no releasing of VOCs and toxic dyes in the fabrics that are rife in the pet bed industry. Again, unregulated. So I, really kind of honed in on that. And then in 2022, the name changed to Stan. which was my soul dog who I lost, and he passed away that year at 12 and a half. And a friend of mine said that Stan's name was also an acronym for Safe, Therapeutic, Australian, Non-Toxic. So I did the name change, having a bit of a break, and Stan still exists today, but it's a very, very labor-intensive, hard business. Again, something I do on my own now. I used to have a factory, but I've kind of outsourced bits and pieces at the moment. But it is a very hard business, especially post-COVID when all the shipping prices went up. So I've had a little bit of a break, but that's about to relaunch this weekend. But what I found was that the people that were coming to me for pet beds for all those years, that was kind of like what they were hoping would be the silver bullet. So, their dog had all sorts of issues, but they just thought, well, nothing else is fixing this dog. Maybe if it gets a good bed to sleep on. And I found that some of the really critical cases, I would say to them, the pet bed's the last of your concerns. Like, you've got to address diet, you've got to address, over vaccination, over medication. I've got several who were operated on completely unnecessarily. And, it's just like, I don't know. I just felt I have to get to them before we get to that stage. So that's kind of how the Natural Pet Farmacy came about. And I've only been doing that I've been researching products for about 4 years, but I only launched the Natural Pet Farmacy just over a year ago. And actually, it might even be that. No, it's not. It's a year in October. Oh my goodness. So, and the Natural Pet Farmacy is really a small collection at the moment, but a collection of products that I've really researched. I've researched with the help of a good friend of mine who is a pharmacist, but his whole world is in organic and natural medicine. So he's got, the benefit of seeing both sides. And we've really gone through a lot of products, and the ones that I stock are the real deal. They are beneficial. They're safe. There's no synthetics. There's no binders. There's no all the horrible stuff that can be in what I found about 90% of pet food supplements
Can
on
you
the
give us
market.
some
If
examples of
customers
some of
really knew
those
what was in
ingredients
them, you wouldn't
that
touch
you
them.
avoid
You
and
sure
that
as hell
pet
wouldn't be
parents
feeding
should
them
be
to your pet.
avoiding?
So, oh look, some of the names are quite hard to actually pronounce, but in a more general term, I'd be looking at things that have, the flavorings. I'd be looking at the carrier oils or the carrier liquids. There's preservatives, there's coating agents, tablets, just tablets in general. They're so heat treated that what's left in them of any benefit is really, of no benefit at all. There's, surfactants, there's bulking agents, there's all sorts of things that they put into these products. And the problem is that a lot of people don't realize that in Australia, they only have to declare the active ingredients, not the non-active ingredients. So, which are a lot of the time, the bulking agents, there's fillers of all descriptions, and they cause so many problems because often they're synthetic, for a start, and the burden they create on the liver is, can be long term. And then, of course, we know that if the liver's not functioning properly, that creates the perfect storm for a whole lot of other illnesses to present. So there's a lot that people need to look into, and I know we've discussed it, that we will create a list of what specifics of what we need to look for customers to have a reference point, because, and it's not just in supplements either, it's in grooming products, it's in toys, it's, there's a range of different things that we need to seriously look at and create a standard, because the industry is not creating that standard. It's a free for all out there at the moment, and there's a lot of people making a lot of money out of
Absolutely. And
sick pets.
particularly when you're talking about
And we
natural
really need to stop
supplements,
that. We
things
really
to
need
add to their
to
diet,
address it.
toys, shoes, all of those things. There is no central source of information for people to go to find out if something's safe. I mean, not a lot of people in Australia are aware there is actually a thing on the internet. There is a website called the Shampoo Ingredients Database that exists in America, where you can simply go to and you can pop in the ingredient you've seen and it will tell you whether it's safe or not. But that's only grooming products. That doesn't cover all of the other types of products and the things that you either wouldn't know are there, or if you did read them on the ingredients list, it's like reading Klingon. You wouldn't know what it means or whether it's safe or whether it's not. So, yeah, it's something we definitely need to look at.
We do. And the Natural Pet Farmacy, we're in the process of developing, a lot of resource material for customers to look at. And, it doesn't necessarily mean that what they buy is something that we stock. There's a lot of products out there. I don't necessarily stock products that, you know, someone else imports, and then, it just it's not viable for me to do that. There's Australian products that we like to see those companies benefit from, the customer going straight to them, to keep them afloat. But when it comes to international products, there are so many incredible brands out there. There are so many incredible people that are, making strides in natural medicine for animals. But the problem is we've been so indoctrinated, by pharmaceutical companies, that we believe that we couldn't possibly manage our pets' health when they're sick. We can do our best, do what we can do to keep them healthy, but as soon as they get diarrhea or as soon as they vomit, it's like all bets are off. We know nothing and we've got to take them to the vet. They're given an antibiotic or an anti-nausea, and then the whole cycle starts all over again. For me, my role in the industry is, to provide safe and effective products, but to also help customers, become more confident in how they manage these little things, vomiting and diarrhea, or a little cut or a graze or something like that. What is a vet visit? Because it's not necessarily those small things that we can address ourselves. I'm a big fan of colloidal silver for cuts and abrasions and abscesses and things like that. Once I knew what it was and how to use it, my previous cat, Tommy, he didn't go to the vet for years. He never needed to, because I'd always applied the colloidal silver, and 24 hours later, he'd be as good as gold, and off you'd go again. So, and it's not because I don't want to spend the money. I'd give every cent I have to my animals if it could save them. It's more that that's not a necessary spend, because it's not a big deal. Allopathic medicine is there for emergencies. Absolutely. My own girl, Alice, had a grand mal seizure when she was 18 months old. She's 11 now. And had it not been for the work of the animal emergency that she was taken to, she wouldn't be with us today. Having said that, though, the vets at the animal emergency the following day said to me, "We don't know what caused it. It was idiopathic. However, she needs to be on anti-seizure medication for the rest of her life." And that wasn't going to happen because they couldn't tell me what caused it. So why would I medicate her for something that, and she's never had another seizure since. So, I just took it all into my own hands. I had cannabis oil for her. She was already eating a high quality raw diet. I just upped it a bit in quality to all organic. She had homeopathic remedies, from Lindell from Canine Vitality. And Alice is as good as gold. She's an incredible 11-year-old. She still runs on our walks. She's extremely healthy. And, Yeah, so I don't
Oh,
think that would be the
absolutely.
case
Look,
had she been
I
on
agree completely. It's
anti-seizure
very much
medication
the same way that I
because she
manage
had no
all of
need to
my
be.
animals as well. I mean, traditional vets absolutely have an important role. They're there for a reason, but my dogs will only go to a vet if I need imaging or I need some sort of help in finding out what the problem is. If I need blood analysed, or if there's some sort of accident and the injury is high risk of infection. That, for example, we've had a couple of nasty run-ins with kangaroos who've sliced and diced, and they were big wounds. So I at least wanted them looked at. Unfortunately, in some cases like that, there may not be an option. But to do the antibiotics. But if I do them, and I only use them when it's strictly when it's necessary, I'm also back at home. I'm making sure that getting the pre and the probiotics that they need, that I'm supporting their guts, and they're not going to have further problems. I will also make sure I'm doing things to support their liver as well, so that I would hope, not building up long term toxicity, all of those sorts of things that you can do in conjunction with that. But as you said, if it's everyday knocks and scrapes, if it's an upset tummy, things like that, if it's non emergency, I'll deal with that at home. Um, and even the same with vaccinations. If I think that their immunity is in question, I will titer test to see where they're at, but I don't automatically vaccinate every 12 months because it's overkill and you're just adding to, the toxic sludge that's sitting in their bodies that mounts up over time.
And we're at a stage now where it's not even the toxic sludge, it is the addition to, um, to the vaccines. They aren't today what they once were. We have the I can't even think now, the mRNA, there we go, um, that's been added to animal vaccines just in the last little while. I think Dr. Judy Morgan was talking about this the other day, and our animals are literally guinea pigs for the pharmaceutical industry in this respect, and they do it all the
Nasty,
time. Like
nasty stuff.
we can discuss even Librella, which is Barenza, I think it is in Australia. Nasty stuff. That's a failed human drug. So, when you know that this is how the world's operating, where they can just kind of chop and change and put a new label on something and, oh, well, your dog would die, but that's the price we're willing to pay. They don't care about your animal. They don't care. So we have to be the voice, the protector, the decision maker for our pets, because for many of them, there's no second chance. You don't get to do it over again because you lose them the first time. And like energetically, our animals are so much more valuable to this planet and to us than we've ever realized. They transmute energy. They take our negative, our hurt emotions, and they change that and give it back to us in a happier, more positive form. And they're just incredible at what they do. And I believe there is a huge agenda to eradicate companion animals. It's not even a secret. It was discussed at the World Economic Forum, I think in 2023, that was the intention because of their contribution to climate change. So that'll be a death sentence for humans if that ever happened. I don't see it happening in my lifetime, but we really do have to arm ourselves with as much knowledge as possible when it comes to what we're putting into our pets' bodies, because once that they're in there, particularly things that are injected, you can't get them out. That's it. So that to me is incredibly scary and also incredibly sad, because it's all well and good to say, oh, my dog was given a vaccine and it didn't have any reaction, it was fine. We don't know what's going on in the inside. We don't know the terror that they might be feeling. from this horrible toxic sludge, as you call it, that's just been injected into their body, into their system, that's going to cross the blood-brain barrier. It could be giving them crazy thoughts. It could be giving them, I don't know, elevating fear. I certainly know that even with the foods today, the dry food, the sugar content and the preservatives and everything else, the mental clarity is lost with our dogs. They don't have the benefit of being able to make a clear decision in the moment. So a lot of them are throwing, reactions to whatever the event is, because this perceived threat is, it's just too overwhelming for them to process. And that's incredibly sad. You don't see that as often with the dogs that are raw fed, that have minimal vaccines to none at all. They're not given chemical flea and tick treatments. The grooming products, like anything you put on their skin is absorbed. So, it's layer upon layer. You take them for a walk around suburbia and through their pores, they're absorbing the glyphosate, lead from car fumes, like just everything. So the toxic load is massive. And then you're adding, these unnecessary vaccines that are given under what I believe is false pretense. We're told that they're for their health, and it's not. It is not. There are so many other ways to protect our pets without injecting them with this foreign substance that is full of things that we don't even know half of what they are. Since the COVID, pandemic, it's opened a lot of people's eyes to what's truly going on in that industry. And, I think we all should be very alert to what's going on and be armed with a lot of information to make that decision for our animals, because we're not injecting it into our body, we're injecting it into theirs. So our
Absolutely.
responsibility is
And
even
with that in
greater to
mind,
get it right.
you've created this event coming to Melbourne in October called Canine Masters. Tell us a little bit more.
So I'm co-host of that event. Some of your viewers, if they're familiar with FIVO from Augustine Approved, FIVO was the original creator of this type of thing. Back in 2015, he hosted Master Chops, which was a fantastic event. He brought out Dr. Karen Becker and Rodney Habib, and it was really an amazing time. He probably made it look a bit too easy, because when we had a chat one day and said that we should be doing another, or he should be doing another, and he's like, "I'll do it if you come on board." And I was like, "No problem." It's an enormous thing to organise. It is, it's huge. The amount of organisation that's required is quite extraordinary, but it's done, it's happening, and I feel that we've got some of the best speakers, at this time, coming from the US and from the UK. We have Rita Hogan, who I think everyone loves Rita. And if they don't yet, it's just because I don't know her or know of her. She's written a fantastic book called The Herbal Dog, and it's also just been released on audio books as well. And if you're driving around and you're wanting to listen to something that just is so informative, 100% download that book. So we have Rita coming. We've got Amy Rez. Amy is the owner of Goodness Gracious, which is a raw feeding company, and she's really bringing some, up-to-date information and probably a few biology lessons on canines and how, raw really is best, or lightly cooked if you have to, but do away with the kibble. There's no place for that in a healthy pet. And then we have Dr. Michael Dim. Dr. Michael is an extraordinary homeopathic vet. He's been around for years. He's like, I think 30 years he's been in the veterinary industry. And he's got a great story, of how he transitioned to homeopathy. And he's quite a vocal, speaker when it comes to like vaccinosis as well, and helping pet owners identify what is vaccine damage in their pets. because a lot of the time, these illnesses and diseases are relabeled or labeled as something new when in actual fact they are a vaccine reaction. And they can occur within days of the vaccine given, but they can occur within years. So when there's a distance between the actual vaccine date being administered and the symptoms of whatever the supposed illness or disease is, we don't make the connection, but that is exactly what it could be. So he's going to talk at length about that. He's a very interesting man, and very generous with his time. There's a few, sure, quite a few people who have benefited from a lot of information he shares freely on different platforms on or Facebook. So he's one to listen to. And then we have Caroline Ingram from the UK. Caroline is the founder of Applied Zoo Pharmacognosy. And I met Caroline before. She was actually going to come out as a guest of Henry Hoddy back in, I think, 2019, it might have been. And then COVID and everything happened. But she's extraordinary. And I could listen to her for days. Her information is just, it's just not discussed in mainstream conversations on pet health. It brings in a whole new perspective. And then, of course, we've got Dr. Matthew Muir, who he's the founder of, the formulator of Leica. So he's certainly, wanting to get the message out there on, moving away from kibble feeding to lightly cooked if you need. And then Amy will be talking about the raw journey. And then, of course, we've got Fivo, who will be talking about, the time he's having recently with his business and what's been going on there, which will be of interest to a lot of people. I won't be speaking because public speaking is probably my biggest fear. Uh, I'm just telling myself that you and I are just having this friendly chat today. There's no recording, nothing. But yeah, the event itself is going to be, a bit of a game changer, I think, for Australian pet owners, and the response has been fantastic. There's couple of tickets left in each category, but we're very surprised how quickly they were jumped on, and I knew they would be. But it just goes to show how thirsty pet parents are for information. And they want to hear from people who aren't afraid to discuss the truth, and who aren't afraid to, introduce different perspectives to pet care, natural pet care. So on the day, we've got like a product expo market. So attendees can purchase there'll be some new releases there, which will be really exciting. We'll have demos. They'll be able to meet and greet with the speakers and have a chat. And then for the VIP ticket holders, we have a cocktail event that night, which will be fun to get all dressed up and have a lovely dinner and a drink if they choose, and just mingle with the speakers again, and see them in their natural habitat. It'll be really great. I'm really looking forward to Canine Masters. I think it will be the catalyst for, for change, for pet parents demanding a lot of change in the industry. And then we'll look at hopefully being able to repeat this in 2027, maybe. We've got some other wonderful speakers that we'd like to have out here. We did hope to have Dr. Steve Marsden and his wife Karen, but the schedules we couldn't align them, unfortunately. But they're very keen to get out to be able to meet the pet owners of Australia. So, but no, Canine Masters is something that I really encourage as many to attend as possible, because there will be a lot of things discussed there that we probably wouldn't be discussing outside of that closed event, just because you can't. You've got to toe the line. You've got to be so careful. But we want to be able to have a really honest conversation, and I don't see why that's a threat to any particular agency or organization, because knowledge is power. So, and if we can do the right thing by our animals, we're all happy for it. We all That's what we all want, is our pets to be healthy and happy and live long,
Absolutely.
comfortable,
And
happy
talk about the
lives.
goodie bags. There's some really great, really fantastic products going in the goodie bags too.
Ugh, the goodie bags. Oh my gosh. There are some amazing products going into our goodie bags. They're actually worth more than the tickets themselves for those who are attending in their category. And the generosity that we've experienced from the people. One particular brand, Bear and Kind, Apothecary. There's some, there's yes,
Thank you.
so which I absolutely love. That I keep going on to about the Settle Petal. I have a jar of it here, and the tin, and I open it when I need to calm down. It's great for the nerves, and the skin. So yeah, we've really made a point of the goodie bags being, something so worthwhile that every attendee will walk away thinking, what I just listened to was worth every cent. But then you're taking that away again to, and these are full products. They're not like little sachets, these are, yeah. So it's, gosh, I don't want to give too much away because, yeah, I want it to be a surprise. We both do. We want it to be a surprise for those who are attending. Um, but it really will be an event not to miss. And I'm so honored to be part of it. But, Fivo he just knows his stuff, and he's going to put on a magnificent show. And it's a big thing to do that as well as run our own businesses, but it will be so worth it. It will be so worth it. And yeah, I look forward to after hearing the feedback from people, because I can't imagine there won't be anyone attending that won't walk away just thinking it was the best thing they've
Definitely.
ever
I'm
been
counting
to.
down. I'm so looking forward to just the networking and catching up with everybody. Um, Catered lunch as well. They feed you too, everyone. And the speakers as well,
Yes, yes.
particularly Rita Hogan. I actually trained under her for my canine herbalism certification. And yeah, I'm a huge
Oh,
fan of hers. Just love her work. The amount of knowledge that she manages to fit in her brain. And the book is amazing too. So yeah, particularly looking forward to that one. It'll be a lot of
it really.
fun.
Well, the book will be available there too. You can either if you've got a copy of the book, you can take it and have it signed by Rita, or if you want, you can purchase one. We'll be having them discounted for attendees, and they'll be signed copies as well. And you mentioned there about, the networking. There are some attendees who are celebrities in their own right that are coming along just as part of the audience. And yeah, that in itself is amazing. They're not there, as to contribute as speaker or anything like that. They're there to learn, what will be shared, the information that will be shared by our speakers. And that was really humbling, actually, seeing, who is coming. There was no fanfare, so you could find yourself sitting next to a couple of celebrity, vets and so forth, just because they've purchased a ticket and just want to be part of the day. So, yeah, it's really going to be an exciting event, and there's so much we've got planned. We've got great things planned for the speakers because they're coming a long way, for this. And I think for all of them, it's their first, except for Caroline and Matthew, of course, because Matthew's Australian, Dr. Matthew, and Caroline Ingram, she comes out to Australia every so many years. But for Rita and her partner Amy and her sister and Michael,
Wow.
this is their first time down under, and we really want to make it something special for them. So, uh, as much as it will be an unforgettable event for the attendees, it will be equally as unforgettable for our speakers. So, it'll it will be a great event, and hopefully it opens up discussion in the industry, not just in the veterinary industry, but just in in the pet food industry, because our fabulous, sponsor is the pet food shop, who, are bringing, they've really helped us to be able to achieve, certain things for the event. And so, there'll be lots and lots of things to learn, and to take away from it. Um, for the speakers and for those who are attending. So it's because the pet food industry really needs a shake up. The pet supplement industry needs a massive shake up. Yeah, so there'll be some things happening. We've got a few plans just to, I don't know, just to bring greater transparency to the industry. It's got to happen because we've got pets dying so unnecessarily. And then we've got, broken spirited humans whose lives won't be the same, without that animal. And I certainly know that I've lost many animals over the years, but none impacted me as great as losing Stanley. He was probably the naughtiest dog God ever put breath into. And I just would never have changed him for all the tea in China. He had so much spunk. He had just, yeah, he was a thinker. He was a comedian, and it was a death in the
Thanks.
family. It was losing a family member, and it 100% is. So that took me a long time, and still, even now, I have days where it just feels really hard. His absence is just, the weight of that is massive, and it's been just over 3 years. So yeah, he was something else. And then I adopted a 13-year-old cat, from, she was on death row a few months after Stan passed, and I had no intention of doing that at all. And then I don't know, next thing I filled out this foster care form and she arrived, and I'm like, "You're our family. Like, that's it. You're not going anywhere." And I have to say, she has got so many mannerisms of Stan's. It's quite, yeah, it has me thinking a lot, because it just wasn't by chance, by accident, that this little dictator arrived in the home like she did. She's something else. And Alice and I were grieving so much, and she just changed that. She just brought this energy into the home that was very healing. But I'd give anything to have Stan back. Um, but I think for those of us who, people who lose an animal before their time, that's there's the grief is just, yeah,
Oh, yeah.
it goes on and on. So that's what I want to avoid for people. I want to help them, by supplying products that aren't going to contribute to illness. It's going to make their pet healthier and happier and more at peace and, calmer. So yeah, which is the direction that industry needs to move to, because it's not there at all at the
Absolutely.
moment.
So, for pet parents who are interested in finding out more about Canine Masters, where can they go?
They can go to the website, Canine Masters website, to purchase tickets. There's also a link on the Natural Pet Farmacy homepage, that will direct them to the link as well. And very simple process, but yeah, I wouldn't wait too long, because I'd say within probably the next 4 weeks, we'll see the tickets are all sold. For VIP attendees, um, it'll be a big day, but there is time to go home, back to the accommodation, change, and then come back to, everything's organised quite central. Um, and then we can also assist with the accommodation recommendations. Vivo's got a few there, that it will be nice and close to the venue. And then the venue itself, it's worth a visit to Melbourne just to see the Capitol Theatre. It's just an exquisite venue. And we deliberately chose that one. This time around, we wanted a smaller number of seats. Um, so I think there's like 560 seats, and everything's very central, but it all adds to that overall experience. And if anyone has any issues with tickets or group purchases, give Fivo a call. Yeah, and we can assist with ticket purchases that
Beautiful.
way.
So that website, caninemasters.com.au, I wouldn't wait too long. I would definitely
That's the
get
one.
in there sooner rather than later. It's going to be a fantastic event, well worth attending. So yeah, something worth checking out.
It is. It'll be great, and it's yeah. I mean, great to meet people. Looking forward to meeting a lot of customers from the Natural Pet Farmacy. There's a lot from Victoria. So we've been on journeys together with their pets and trying the different supplements and seeing great improvement. And yeah, and we've got many more products that I'll be bringing into the country. Just waiting for permits to be approved. Um, yeah, and doing my best. There's a bit of a battle with some of the products because they won't let them in, but they're game changing. So trying to find a way of bringing them into the country because we don't offer them here, and they are, they're changing lives. So if any of your viewers or listeners are, have a product that they're trying to get in and they don't have access to it, they can always drop me a line and I can have a look into it and see if I can bring that into the country
And
for them.
speaking of products, you've just launched a brand new line of medicinal mushroom supplements.
Oh God, they're lovely. They're the lion's mane goes into my espresso coffee every morning. These are beautiful mushroom powders. I'm working on some blends. I've got a couple of little things that are happening behind the scenes. They're the supplier of these mushroom powders. I've been a big fan of for many years and used them myself for many years. Um, and they're sourced from the higher region of China, so up near the top of China, the close to Mongolia. So everything's different up there. I think when people hear, "Oh, it's from China," they think it's down where the clothes are made in the southern area, and it's not. Even you'd think it was a different country. It's just pristine up there, and there are farms that are contracted, and they all grow the mushrooms, and it's the way they harvest them that sealed the deal for me because they're harvested off the logs, off the trees so gently that they retain the integrity of the mushroom. They're not just kind of, roughly removed. It's done with such intention and care. And that to me, because everything is vibration, and that to me is really integral in assuring the quality of the product. And I absolutely love it. Just the other day, I had some organic gelatin powder and I mixed in some of the mushroom powders with that and into a mold and made these gorgeous jellos for Ali that go in her dinner. And she loves it. She'll take the mushroom powder anyway. I give it to her. She loves that. But it was just making it look a little bit more appealing. And they're beautiful. I stand by the quality of these. I absolutely love them. And then following on from that, we'll soon be launching Northern Rivers Buffalo dog treats, um, which I have a friend of mine who has a buffalo farm in the beautiful area of the Northern
Wow.
Rivers. And so, yeah, I source some of the products from her and the liver and kidney and heart and meat. And yeah, we're in the process of setting all that up at the moment. So they'll be sold through the Natural Pet Farmacy to begin with. And as we discussed before we started this today, that I had the bags all ready to go and to box, and Alice, my dog, got through the door and got through the box and helped herself to several $100s worth of products. So anyway, that's how good they are. She was willing to risk me losing my brain at yeah, they were that good. So
And days of
that
diarrhea.
was oh gosh, it's probably going to be a long night. But anyway, she'll learn a very valuable lesson. Well, for today, she'll
You
probably
would hope
forget it and
so.
be back there tomorrow. Well, and I learned a lesson too. So those boxes will be kept much higher than where they were. But anyway, but yeah, so there's lots of things coming through the Natural Pet Farmacy, and at the end of the day, it's really just about providing products that are what they say they are. They're everything I would take myself and feed my own animals. They're from people like Dr. Steve Marsden, who is I have his range of gold standard herbs and which is Chinese medicine based. He is extraordinary, that man. Every time I listen to him, I learn something new. So I've got those, and oh gosh, I'm trying to think now of the other products that we've got, but there's a lot, and there's a lot to come. And we've got a very big surprise coming for the cat lovers of Australia. So I can't say too much about that yet, but yeah, just subscribe to the website because you'll hear about it first. But it's something that's long overdue in Australia for cats, and it's very exciting.
So what's the URL for people wanting to find you?
Uh, so www.naturalpetfarmacy.com.au.
And it's farm with an F, not a PH.
Thank you very much for saying that. Yes, it's Farmacy. So, yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for coming on and for your time today. It's been great chatting with you, and we're definitely going to need to get you back in the new year. Lots more to talk about.
Well, I just think there's so much that needs to be discussed. It's a topic that is my heart. Like I'll do anything for animals. I will absolutely do anything. And yeah, so there's just so much to discuss, and I really look forward to sharing, everything new to come. With the pet owners of Australia, and yeah, being on the journey with them and their pet to perfect natural health, because that's what we want for all of them.
Absolutely. Thank you so much again.
Thanks for the invite. It's been a pleasure.